Hi, I'm Melanie Bettenhausen, Outreach Director for the North Coast Co-op, and I'm here with
Melanie Williams, proud member of the North Coast Co-op and owner of Bikes There.
We're here to tell you about improving employee bike parking here at the Co-op. We're here in Arcata, California at the North Coast Co-op, which is a natural foods grocery store in Northern California. We have 2 locations, one here in Arcata, one in Eureka, and we're owned by more than 16,000 members of the Humboldt community, and we employ about 185 people.
Bikes There is my business. I do a lot of bicycle education and consulting. I work with businesses like the North Coast Co-op, with municipalities. I'll work with schools or individuals to help them make the active choice of walking and biking an easy choice. My mission at Bikes There is to propel justice by helping others propel themselves.
I'd like to share with you a little history of how Melanie and I came to work together. So first of all, I should tell you that in the Co-op's mission statement, we say that we support environmental sustainability. And then we go through a 5-year strategic planning, and in that we said that we wanted to improve employee and customer bike parking. So that was in 2009. But in 2008, we actually implemented a policy that made it harder for employees to bike to work. We no longer allowed them to walk across the sales floor to get to the back warehouse to park their bike, which was really a good thing for customers. You know, there's a safety hazard with oil slicks and things like that, water dripping on the floor. It was probably 2009. We had built a very nice bike parking shed in our Eureka store for employees, and that was great. And then the recession hit before we could build the bike parking in Arcata. So around the same time, we also were notified, probably in 2010, that the parking lot that we had for employees to park their cars was going to become a housing building. So we're asking employees to ride their bikes to work because they were going to be losing car parking, but we didn't really have enough bike parking for them, so we knew we needed to do something. And so in 2011, I contracted with Melanie, and we set out to assess the situation using data.
In order to fully understand the situation for employees here at the Arcata store, I conducted interviews with the employees, I composed a survey which they did online, and I also did a site audit. And what I found through the survey was that 36% of the employees here at the Arcata store were willing to give biking a try. But there were 3 obstacles that the co-op could do something about. One was that employees didn't know how to carry a load on their bike. Another was that they were worried that they had to have a car at work in the case of a family emergency, and the biggest obstacle to them was that door. Many of the employees who work here at the co-op work shift work, and that often starts in the wee hours of the morning. Once they changed the rules to say that they couldn't bring a bike through the store, then they had to come around in the dark at night and pound very loudly on this door and wait for a coworker to come and open it. This caused a lot of concern for employees. They were anxious about waiting out there in the dark, and they also worried that it might negatively reflect on their worker evaluation if they were late to work because they were busily pounding on the door and couldn't get in at the time they should have punched their time card. Once inside, employees had to wheel their bikes across this floor to a rack that only held 6 bikes, and they had to be able to hoist their bike into exactly the right position, which was often very difficult to do. There wasn't always enough parking, and they had to leave their wet cycling clothes or their heavy gear from being out. Those who rode at night especially had a lot of gear that they had to hang from their bikes.
Based on Melanie's recommendations, the co-op management team decided to start looking for places for a bike parking shed for our employees. We looked at the front of the space of our store, but that would require changing the use of the space that we have, and each one really had a large price tag. Nothing seemed like it was going to work. However, there was one spot that used to be a seating area that could easily be closed off because we had changed some of the layout on the inside of the store, so we decided to take a look at that. So here we are inside of the bike parking space. As you can see, we covered the windows. We replaced the emergency exit door with a door that was permanently locking and had a PIN code for secure access. Originally, we had a wall right here, so it was just a tiny little space. It was actually less bike parking than when we had it in the back warehouse. So after a time, we decided that we weren't using this bigger space either, so we just took out the wall and dedicated it all to bike parking. And for a little while, more than just bikes were in here. You can see there's some shelving and boxes, but over time we've managed to get those cleared out, and now we have dedicated bike parking for employees.
Overall, the process took several years, but because of it, we have more employees biking and we have better bike parking. What made it possible was that we had champions that persevered, ourselves, community members, and employees here at the co-op.
The co-op would still like to address the employee incentive program and maybe change some policies to make it easier for employees to ride their bikes to work and even incentivize them. But we'll be working on that in the next 5 years.
We'd really like to thank you for watching and encourage you to try something similar where you work, whether you're an employer or an employee. Get out there, join us, ride a bike.